Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on my program. I appreciate you wherever you're connecting from. If you are joining me from any part of the world, I thank you very much for your contributions on this channel. Please kindly subscribe if you have not subscribed, and also click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. In this channel, I bring information to your doorstep. I bring news from all channels, from every angle. Things that have to do about the world, things that have to do about Africa, more especially Nigeria. I bring it to your doorstep, some information that you ignore, some information that you cannot be able to come across. I look for them, I bring it to your doorstep for you to see. Every video you see on this channel is for educational purpose.
Welcome back to the Horizon TV, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the conversations. I'm Sumner Sambo, and my guest is still the businessman, self-acclaimed anti-corruption crusader and chairman of Dialogue Group, Madishewu, who is joining me from Kaduna, the former capital of northern Nigeria, to take a look at issues concerning the 2023 elections and, of course, some of those who have emerged as presidential candidates after the nominations closed last month. So good to still have you with us, Madishewu. And I've actually watched what you sent. I'm afraid I would have loved to play it, but I can't play it because this interview was on another TV channel. And of course, you should understand better why I can't play that here. But I've listened to Peter Obi making the comments there, and of course I've seen the picture you sent. Like I told you earlier on, that picture is still controversial. Until we verify if indeed it's Peter Obi's son, we'll just let it stay like that. But if indeed we must make reference to this video you sent and what Peter Obi said there, that IPOB members are not terrorists as at then when Nigeria was 57, and he was called upon to shed more light on it, and that the federal government's proclamation calling them terrorists is not something that he was sitting well with him. I would also want to pose a similar question to you. We've seen a lot of northern leaders actually say that Boko Haram members are not terrorists. We've seen some people saying that bandits, before they were declared terrorists, are not terrorists, including President Muhammadu Buhari at a point in time before he became the head of state president in 2015. Isn't just politics that's at play here? Most times when people are not in government, they want to be sympathetic to some things that have some cultural affiliation. Don't you think that Peter Obi may have been saying that during that sort of feeling, when there was a thinking within the Southeast that President Muhammadu Buhari's government had a certain agenda against the East?
Well, you see, interestingly, history always plays out. Go to the Southwest. After the coming back of Obasanjo in 1999, OPC alleged terror, mayhem and carnage, killed, maimed, incapacitated, burnt down, killed so many northerners across Shagamu, Mile 12, Ipe, Modokeke, everywhere it was carnage. And Obasanjo kept mum until when the international community rose up before OPC was outlawed. But even then, traditional rulers, clergies, elder statesmen of the southwestern origin, then and even now, are saying that what OPC did was legitimate. That is giving them an umbrella to continue killing and maiming. That is the history there. Perhaps Obi is also learning from the Southwest, because if the Yoruba elders, Council of Elders, agitators there will give an umbrella for crime for the OPC, why don't he give umbrella also of crime for the IPOB, for the ESN? I think he is learning very fast. But interestingly, if you look at that clip, you said you saw that clip. The reason why Obi is saying that IPOB are not a terrorist organization, he gave a simplistic, unscholarly, and naive interpretation of terrorism. He said, these are people that I pass by when I am going on my walk. I pass by on the street. they don't beat, they don't do anything. Is that the definition of terrorism? A terrorist is somebody who is a non-state actor, who took arms against the state, against the citizens, especially if he's selectively killing people, maiming them, incapacitating them, and sending them away. That is the first understandable definition of a terrorist, who uses all available resources to him, all materials and equipment available to him, to instill terror, to cause death, to cause harm, and to make economic dispossession, simply because he is either naively or genuinely aggrieved. That was the reason Obi gave, and I expected more than that from him, especially looking at his exposure and his scholarship. But he never did that. In the north here, there are elements of people who said Boko Haram are not terrorists, but they are terrorists because they qualify into the definition of a terrorist, just like the OPC, like the ESN, like the IPOB. Our problem is that in Nigerian brand of democracy, unfortunately, we give umbrella, religious umbrella, ethnic umbrella, regional umbrella, to criminal gangs, to people who have looted and are looting the treasury high, empty, and dry. The moment somebody steals money from the public treasury and is from a particular ethnic group, the moment he is taken to court, you will see, like an example here in the north, somebody between himself, his wife, his houseboy, his house girl, they stole 3 billion naira from a bank in the north. They were taken to court. They appeared only once. Before the next adjournment date, a very prominent Islamic scholar in the north, 2 prominent, very senior emirs, and a very senior activist went to the president and said, we are here to intervene on behalf of our son. And sadly, before the next adjournment date, the Attorney General entered a nolle prosequi in favor of that accused person. 3 billion naira was never recovered. He was pardoned. He was not even pardoned. They entered a nolle prosequi. And what pained me most was 2 years after, that same person is still alive. His name appeared on the list of people who were given national honors. Even 4 weeks ago, I saw his name, Mr. OON, Officer of the Order of the Niger. Maybe they are giving him honor for stealing 3 billion naira. But surprisingly, 12 years after, a governor from the South stole 30 billion naira from the state government money. I think he was eyeing for GCON. Somebody stole 3 billion naira, he was given OON. And it's not enough for him. So he stole 30 billion naira. He was also similarly taken to court. He also appeared only once. Before the next date, I have the clip on NTA. South Elders Forum, South Christian Forum, and 2 prominent Southerners went to Obasanjo live on NTA, and they asked him, Mr. President, this money is said to have been stolen by our son. Does that money belong to the federal government or to the state? Obasanjo said, the money belongs to you. They said, he is our son. We have forgiven him. And he never appeared anymore. Not only that, during the Adwas regime, he became one of the most influential politicians in the history of Nigeria. And he is still alive and still influential in the politics of Nigeria.
Yeah.
This is the makeup of Nigeria for you.
Yes.
If this is the behavior of the clergy and the clerics and the traditional institution and those who have been reposed with the custody and trust of our money, God save democracy, God save Nigeria, God save the whole world.
Yes, and I must say you are trying to be balanced this time around on some of the things you have observed, because corruption wears, ethnic clothing, religious clothing in Nigeria, and it's a battle, it's an ongoing battle that we'll continue with as a nation. You mentioned earlier that the sins of the father should not be visited on the sons. And I want to take you back to Nigeria.
Neither that of the son being visited to the father.
Yes, I want to take you back to Nigeria's political history, considering what happened in 1966 and the unfortunate coup, the killings, and all of that. Is Northern Nigeria yet to forgive the Igbo nation? If the North has forgiven the Igbo nation for all that happened and transpired during that period, why is it difficult for a lot of Northerners, including yourself, to want to queue behind the Peter Obi, who a lot of Nigerians say is competent, he's got the spirit of uniting Nigerians, and he may help to develop the country?
You see, forgiveness is divine. It is biblical, it is also Quranic. Even it is within common sense. But let me tell you one thing. The northern crop, the entire north, are the most forgiving people I have ever seen on the face of the earth. Not because I'm a northerner, but I'll give you a reason. They are the most accommodating on the face of the earth, and they are the most tolerant for the following reasons. Number one, if we had not forgiven the Igbos for the killing of our officers during the 1966 coup, you wouldn't have had currently over 3 million Igbos in Kano pursuing legitimate businesses. All the shops they occupy in Kano are not on rent, it's owned by them. All the houses they occupy in Kano are not on rent, they are owned by them. They form part of the commercial nerve of Kano commerce. All the churches they have built in Kano, as at January this year, there are 4,980 churches fully certificated by Kano state government, owned by Igbos, presiding over, and they are living in peace in Kano. Ask any Igbo man if he has any threat in Kano to his commerce, to his life,
let me just come in here. It can't be owned by only Igbos. It could be other Nigerians, including Northerners, who are of Kano origin, who are Christians.
You made a specific mention of if we have not forgiven Igbos. If you had said that, it is going to be an open-ended, I can tell you, but I'm specifically answering your question. Go to Katsina. Churches are owned by Igbos. Businesses in over 600,000 people who are extraction in Katsina are living peacefully. Go to Sokoto, go to Zamfara, go to Kebbi, come to Kaduna. Millions of Igbos are all over the north. They are not even where, they are nowhere. They have the largest number of presence in the north in terms of their physicality, in terms of their business, in terms of their socialization, in terms of everything. If we are not accommodating, if we are not forgiving, if we don't look other side, if we don't turn the cheek, they wouldn't have been here. We have turned the other cheek. If you tell us how many cheeks, we turned the right one, it was slapped. We turned the left one, it was snapped. We kept on turning the invisible cheek of love so that Nigeria can remain peaceful. North is very accommodating, it is very tolerant.
Okay, if that's the case, then why do you have a problem with Professor Ango Abdullahi working with Olusegun Obasanjo to support a Peter Obi potential presidency if he wins the election in 2023? Don't you think that by taking this position, you're sending the wrong message that someone who is a Peter Obi from the southeast should not be easily accepted by Northerners?
You are not even understanding me. I said, politics is an open market. It is a game of negotiation. Of course, it's a game of numbers. Let Peter Obi come over to the north and sell his candidature. We will weigh him, we evaluate him, we assess him based on his own presentation, not through a third party. And I don't have an issue for the records with Ango Abdullahi. He's an elder statesman, much older than me. I respect him. He has given incalculable contribution to the development of education on the north. But the objection I have is that he is an active member of Northern Elders Forum, presumably speaking for the north, for the downtrodden northerners, for the poor northerners, for the traumatized northerners, for the dispossessed northerners. That is his selling point, speaking for the North. And all of a sudden, fully aware of history records, of the antecedents of an Obi as a governor, how can he convince Northerners that he's not speaking from both sides of the mouth? In one breath, you are said to be protecting the North, projecting the North, promoting the North and Northerners and Northern interests. In another breath, somebody is trying to drag you into an Obi project, because I'm saying dragging because I don't know whether he has bought the project hook, line and sinker. But if he does, it is the biggest disservice he is doing to Northern Elders Forum. It is the biggest disservice he is doing to the memory of Sardona of Sokoto, Sir Ahmadi Bello, Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, Joseph Tarka, name them. It's the biggest mistake he can make in his life, to be speaking from two sides of the mouth. He's entitled to go and promote an OB, but the moment he does that, he should keep aside the issue of protecting, promoting, and protecting the North. You can't have the two going simultaneously at the same time.
Okay, at least you've said clearly here that he has this constitutional right to back anyone that he chooses to. So why are you involving the likes? Why are you involving the likes of former head of state Ibrahim Babangida and former national security advisor General Ali Uguso in this issue? Why are you asking them to stay away from supporting Peter Obi, and why were you also bringing Atiku Abubakar into that conversation?
Okay, for a special reason, I will pick one after the other. Number one, if an Obasanjo has disdain for Atiku, it's not for a reason. It's not for no reason. There is a reason for that. One of the reasons might be that Atiku took Obasanjo to court as assistant vice president 9 times, up to the Supreme Court, and he won 9 times. Obasanjo is not a forgiving soul. He will never forget Atiku for making him look maybe naive in the eyes of the law. Winning somebody 9 times in the eyes of the law means Atiku has an upper hand legally on Obasanjo's empty claims and threats and intimidation. Number 2, there is a way you reciprocate. There are people that reciprocate you negatively with the bad blood. I think it's part of Obasanjo's way of paying back to an Atiku. The same Atiku, when Obasanjo came out from the prison, he was technically bankrupt. He was brought out by a northern coalition and other southern coalition. He was dusted, clean, given a clean bath, and he was called an elder Obasanjo, a trustworthy Obasanjo, drafted into the political arena, made a president out of him, saw him in. They garnered a lot of money. When he was presiding, when he was campaigning, he realized that only an Atiku has a structure of PDM inherited from Shehu Musa Adua. And he needed a structure that is fully rooted in the North. He did not pick Atiku wholeheartedly in all sincerity, but because Atiku had three advantages. Number 1, he had a solid PDM structure. Number 2, he knows the game of politics. Number 3, he has so many supports from all over the country, enough to make an Obasanjo a president. You could see that soon after becoming the president, only the first 2 years were rosy. The remaining 6 years were hectic and Herculean and in bad taste for an Atiku. At every point in time, like the scribes and the Pharisees of Jesus Christ's time, always asking for a question. Where is Atiku? What is Atiku doing? What happens to Atiku? He wanted to nail him. That was why they were in court 9 times. Maybe that is why they are reciprocating Atiku. And that was the condition under which I brought in an Atiku. Number 2, for an IBB, when Obasanjo left Zaria, when he was reporting back to his group, he said his next 2 assignments will be to reach out to IBB and to reach out to General Aluguso. If you had my clip very well, I was just giving IBB and Aluguso an advance notice that in the event an Obasanjo come asking for their support for an OB project, they should be extremely careful and wary. And I reminded IBB that if there is anybody in the world who knows Obasanjo very well, he is one of the 10 people who knows Obasanjo very well, in and out, for the following reasons. The same Babangida who rehabilitated or was part of the rehabilitation of Obasanjo made him a president. Soon after ascending to power, he made Babangida his punching bag. I still remember freshly when he came to Arewa House, the first Arewa House lecture, Obasanjo was the speaker. And he painted Babangida in the most uncomplimentary colors. He called him stupid, bastard, a failure, so many unprintable adjectives. The same Babangida had spent over 3 billion naira to ensure that Obasanjo becomes the next Secretary General after Butrus Gali. But in spite of all this magnanimity, Obasanjo gave Babangida's regime endless trouble, more than the scribes, the biblical scribes and the Pharisees. So I told Babangida, remember, be a prisoner of history. Remember what Obasanjo did to you. Ensure that if Obasanjo comes in for an OB project, at the least you can do is remain neutral.
Okay.
Remain indifferent.
We don't have
he
enough.
has injured you in the past. He will continue to injure you.
We don't have
and
enough
I also
time
told
left,
so that Obasanjo may come over to you. Be careful, be wary.
Okay, Madisha, we don't have enough time left. I should try to round off this conversation very quickly. So you are saying that if Peter Obi comes to the North on his own without an Obasanjo, the North will give him more listening ear. And some people will want to question your credibility or your credentials for wanting to speak for the North. Who appointed you the right speaker for the North? Since you don't belong to Arewa Consultative Forum or the Northern Elders Forum, on what platform do you have these credentials to speak on behalf of the North?
Luckily, in your introduction, you never introduced me as somebody speaking for the North. Neither have I done that. That is number one. Number two, under the Nigerian Constitution, the second part, the second chapter, dealing with fundamental objectives and directed principle of state policy, clearly spelled out why government come into place: to protect lives, properties, honor, dignity of the citizens. And where they have failed to do that, I have a civic, moral, constitutional, ethical responsibilities to speak out without claiming to speak on anybody's behalf, exercising my own rights as a citizen of Nigeria, unless we are going to dispossess me of that right. Number three, it is politics. I am a stakeholder, a registered voter. I have my own choices and I have my own preferences.
Okay.
Part of my preferences and choice is to speak out loudly. If you speak the truth, you die. If you don't speak the truth, you die.
Okay.
I would rather speak the truth and die.
Okay, so just before we go, I didn't hear you saying anything about Bola Tinubu and the APC. Is it an admittance that the North may likely be in bed with the APC and its candidates, and so that's why you are going so hard against Tinubu, and you're talking more of Atiku and Peter Obi?
I don't have any problem with Bola. I don't have any problem with Bola Tinubu. The only problem Nigerians have with him is let him come out through a credible media like Arise and tell people his real name, the schools he went to, his genealogy, his background, the source of his wealth, his state of health, and so on and so forth.